like we usually are pretty lighthearted and, you know, a lot of profanity, but we've gotten some pretty heavy stuff with some of our guests, some deep stuff. So we're not opposed to talk about anything. Heavy racial issues. Like we've had a lot of, strangely enough, we have 2 or 3 podcasts of ours. And I say strange enough because we've done much better with the black audience than I ever assumed we would be. A couple white dudes from Tennessee. But we've had some just fantastic fucking conversations with these guys on race and the black experience in the South and things that we don't understand. But, you know, we've had guys that have been gracious enough to humor our ignorance, and because we're willing to have the conversations and they're willing to let us ask some stupid questions. And
all right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the I Didn't Read Your Book podcast. I am Lutch, your host, and today we are going to be doing something a little bit different once again. I still felt that this was going to be it could fit under the podcast umbrella, that I wouldn't be breaking the rules too much, but looking to branch out and doing something different today. This is going to be a typical podcast episode. However, this is not going to be about a book. This is going to be about another podcast. So what we are actually going to do is we will check out the B3F podcast. My guests are the co-hosts. And what we'll do is take a little peek at what they've got and treat it like a normal episode. All right. So what we're going to do here is just hop onto their YouTube, and we will check out what we're dealing with here and see how it goes. So we've got their page here. Excuse all my tabs open for all this stuff. So we've got, their logo, but we don't have any playlists or anything like that. I don't know how much they put into the video portion. You know, being a podcast, video may not be, a big part of what they do. But let's do this. Let's just pop the most recent one in and slow this down for you slow pokes. And I'm just going to pick a random time and we're going to hop right in and see what we got going on.
You guys call it the Queen's English or the King's English?
Queen's English.
Queen's English word. Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of UK, England things where there's a T missing somewhere. Like,
if I ask for an example, would you be able to give an example there?
Yeah, I used to work with a girl, and every time I'd say something, if she didn't hear me, or we would say what. If you hear when I say what, it should be pronounced what. There should be the T there. So we kind of we just don't drop as much. She used to say what?
All right.
And there's no T there. It's like she just cut the word off. And it was like I'm fucking done with that word. Like, but everyone from England that I've ever met does somewhat the same thing. I can't think of any time I've heard you do it. But I bet if I listen long enough, I could pick up on some of that.
So what? We cut the T.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think What? Yeah, you're right.
You just did it. He cut the T.
Yeah. You don't think about it, just like we don't think about it in the South. But I think the South is a little bit closer to the Queen's English than most of the rest of the U.S. is. But anyway, I don't know. I'm fascinated with those kind of, and that's the kind of shit that bores Stephen to death. So I love that. He was messaging me last night, and he said something. I can't let you keep doing this by yourself for too long or whatever. And I just said it's nice to not have somebody as soon as I start talking say, who cares? I don't care. So
where is Stephen? I've not asked that question. Where is he?
So he
is it hiatus?
He says, I thought people in the UK said pardon instead of what. Yeah, I'm sure some.
So they're live. They are doing this live.
People say pardon.
I'm seeing here call or text on the bottom. So this is a live podcast.
Yeah.
Goals.
Yeah. So he's back and forth doing a lot with his kids because they live about 4-ish hours away from him.
All right. Well, I don't want to. So that's a little peek at the B3F podcast. And we will be talking to Joe and Stephen today. Again, because we're not working with a book cover and a synopsis of what is inside, we actually did, that would be the equivalent of reading an excerpt of the book. So slightly different context. So again, I don't necessarily have much analysis. It sounds just like, a podcast like many others. And, whatever is unique about this show you're not going to get in a little clip, a little clip just like that. So without further ado, let's bring in the boys from the B3F Podcast. All right. And we have the B3F Podcast in the building. How's it going, guys?
Good, man.
Pretty
How
good.
are you?
Not too bad. So to the viewers at home, you will have just watched something I have not yet recorded. But I'm not exactly sure what the hell we're doing here. So why don't we just dive in? And guys, what is the B3F Podcast?
It's such a big question.
It is. You
So-
think as many times as people have asked us that we would have a good solid answer by now, but we don't.
Essentially, we've been best friends since we were in high school.
Yeah.
We're both 41 now. And it started, we lived apart for most of our adult lives. And
Yeah.
I moved here to the area, and we decided that doing a podcast would be a great excuse to hang out on the weekends. So we'd have permission to do so from our wives. And it's just grown a whole hell of a lot more than we thought it would, which I didn't think to ask you beforehand. What's the language considerations here? Do we need to throw some edit on here?
No.
Okay.
Go wild. Buck wild.
All right, good. But yeah, so it's just grown from there. It's grown a hell of a lot faster than we thought it would. Still not as much obviously as we'd like, but
Sure.
It's where we are.
Yeah. I mean, it started out as we would kind of pick a half-assed topic.
Yeah.
And,
then
we
I'd
would
ruin
just
the topic.
rant, and we would rabbit trail, and we would talk for 45 minutes to an hour, and then it started to feel rushed, and
Yep.
so we started extending the time, and then we started
Getting guests.
inviting guests to come on and kind of talk to them about half the episode about whatever shit they've got going on, and then kind of bring them into what a normal episode would be as far as just talking
Yeah,
about
our
whatever.
guests basically act as a third host
Yeah.
for the show.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I used to have a similar type of podcast where same kind of thing where I would have I had a co-host. It was really my kind of thing and he was the co-host rather than us both being co-hosts together. But a lot of times it would just be the two of us, and then we'd bring on guests. And that podcast didn't go too far because I didn't quite realize that if you're going to ask people to sit and listen to a 2.5 to 3 hour conversation about nothing in particular, you kind of already have to be Joe Rogan to do that.
Yeah.
So I think we had some cool conversations, but not a lot of people heard them.
Well,
Ours has been slow growing, I think, for that reason. But the people that love it absolutely fucking love the show. So I mean, it's been pretty.
and
cool.
we live stream when we record. So we live stream to, 3 or 4 different platforms, and we typically have a little bit of interaction and people watching while we live stream. And then, so we kind of look at growth from a live stream video, because then the video gets released as well, and audio. So it's we're kind of looking at overall all of these things are growing. Maybe one's growing slow, maybe one's growing a little faster, whatever. So it's an overall growth, but
Jesus, you're boring.
I am, which is probably why we're growing so slow. Yeah.
No, I'm actually interested because I'm starting to dabble with live streaming stuff myself. So obviously, my viewers will be familiar with the platform, but I didn't read your book podcast, bringing on authors, talking to them, just like I don't know about your guys' podcast. I wouldn't have read their book.
Which is a great concept,
great
by the
concept.
way.
Thank you.
I'll talk to people before they're like,
We did an episode which was just blind review of books, where we would pull them up on Amazon, read the synopsis of the book, and then
review it.
just review it from
Yeah.
that.
But
And
it ended up just being stupid.
it
and
was
didn't
it was
last long.
boring. Like, it felt very boring.
we
to us,
weren't
so we did it
talking
one
to
time.
anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
that's literally the first segment of my
Okay.
podcast, and I call it "Judging a Book by Its Cover and Reading the Back of the Book." And literally, just throw the cover up there, read the back of the book, put some music under it, and then just like, oh, what do I, how good is this? If I'm
Right.
standing in a Barnes and Noble, or if I'm scrolling on Amazon and I'm looking to buy a book about this, why would I pick this book over the next one on the list or the next one on the shelf or whatever?
Right.
It seems to be the ire of many authors how difficult it is to express themselves in such a limited format.
Yeah.
Obviously authors writing their books, you can't fit the whole book on the back of the book. So I've been blindsided. My favorite story to tell about that was in episode 6. The book was called Love, Peace, and Gravity, and there was. You're gonna have the feeling I had
based on the title. I would not read that fucking book.
So that's the title, and on the cover there was a picture of like the face of a grandfather clock. So I'm thinking, okay, like maybe this is some like fantasy, sci-fi, romance, something like that. And I bring the author in, and I'm like, so how exactly does the gravity and time stuff play into your romance story? And she's like, oh, this isn't a romance novel. This is a nonfiction about my fiance that died 7 months ago. Oh, maybe you should rewrite the synopsis then, because I didn't get that at all.
Yeah. Wow. Maybe they put his ashes in a clock.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
You're going to have to excuse me for just a moment, because there's an emergency going on upstairs. So Stephen will be here. Yeah.
So good job.
We got the good one. Don't worry.
Yeah. Right.
So what, I mean, what do you, how do you come across your guests? Is it just whoever wants to shoot the shit? I mean,
kind of, it's been a blend of things. We've gotten lucky. We've had a few TV personalities on, and some, no A-list, celebrities, but some guys off of TV. And a lot of it's been just random luck, shooting emails out. A couple sites, one's called matchmaker.fm, which sounds like a dating site for podcast. And one called Podmatch. We've gotten some pretty good guests off of both of those. We try to focus, if it's not an individual that we know of, a lot of times we'll shoot for other shows, right, to do cross episodes of, and that's been worked pretty well. We've got some local business owners from around here. The problem with us a lot of times is we're pretty raw. We don't edit anything on our episodes. It's whatever is said stays, and so it's off brand for a lot of businesses, which we get. Like, I have no hurt feelings over that. But yeah, we started off couple of friends we knew, and then reached out to some local business guys, barbershop, tattoo guys, stuff like that. And then it's kind of grown. We've had a couple of the guys. I don't know if you've ever seen the History Channel show Forged in Fire. It's like a blacksmithing game show. I've had like 3 guys, one of the main hosts, one of the judges, and then a couple of the contestants have come on, weirdly enough. But mostly people that don't give a shit about their reputation are the people that'll come on and talk to us.
Interesting. Yeah. So how long you guys been doing it?
A little over 2 years now. We released every single week. We're at episode 123 and haven't missed a week yet. So
nice. Yeah, that's one of the toughest parts I found, is just fitting the time in to do everything, and then especially with video. Even though I like to the conversations themselves, I won't touch them for the actual episode. But then throughout the week, I want to put out clips, and for the clips, I'll chop those up so that, because nobody's got an attention span anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is time consuming.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
Video is a whole other animal than just audio.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's one reason we decided not to edit shit, because we're both lazy, and neither one of us wanted to sit down and go through and edit and take things out. So we're like, we'll just leave whatever's there. And I think since we've started, we've only had to we've pulled one episode, and we had to edit another one. It's the only 2. And the one we edited was a local, there's a minor league hockey team here in Knoxville that we love. And we had their goalie on, and the conversation got in a couple spots, and he was really good about editing, but some of the topics he messages later, he's like, guys, I know you don't edit, but he goes, it's going to get me in trouble with the league. Can you please pull a couple of these things out that you guys talked about? And I was like, well, we don't want to start fucking losing in the season. So sure, we'll edit that. And then we had another lady that was a friend of mine indirectly, and she showed up just drunk off of her ass, and then continued to drink and talked a lot of stuff, and then almost was going to get fired from her job because of her mouth. And then because she was like a friend, and I kind of owed her a favor, I was like, okay, we'll pull that one. So we did a quick re-record, but now we have a thing that basically says, hey, you agree to be on here, and whatever happens. So
whatever you do, that's your fault.
Yeah. But and it doesn't help. Like, one of our things that we started doing is we drink something different during each episode. So we'll pick a bottle of whiskey or a gin or whatever, and just mix drinks, kind of like what we do now. We just sip on them throughout, like, not to get hammered, but we've had a couple of guests that had a little more than their share while they were on.
That would be me. That would be it. Because that was a staple of my old podcast, that the guest would choose the drinks. Yeah. And so we'd be drinking, smoking weed the whole way through. Yeah. And again, I think the conversations hold up.
Yeah, for sure.
But they very clearly devolve as time goes on, and the slurring starts and the volume goes up and all that kind of stuff.
100%. Yeah, I've only had 2. I was the first one of us that couldn't make. I had an episode I couldn't make it through. I got so done, and so his Joey's daughter actually stepped in when I stepped out and jumped on the rest of his. I think she's 19 now, but yeah, well, we do this thing that after every episode we pour a shot each into a bottle, and we call it the suicide bottle. And so when it fills up, it's a mix of everything, unless we have beer, which is rare, but it's every kind of alcohol that we've had up until that point. And it is, it's the worst thing, man. It's so bad. I mean, this last one had everything from absinthe to Fireball in it, and everything like gins, tequilas.
Like every episode, you put 1 shot in the bottle?
We took 2 shots in the bottle. Yeah, 1 from each of us, no matter what.
Oh my God.
No matter what it is that we
And then
drink.
when it fills up.
Yeah. And it's one of those things you
dear.
can smell each alcohol individually and taste them individually, but yet it's, oh, Jesus, man. It's so rough. But that one got me.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
So I've found in just, trying to, whether it was the old podcast or this one, getting, talking to people, specifically guests, that the idea of, more free-form organic conversation is something that a lot of people are afraid of, and they want, like I was on a show where it wasn't even a video podcast. It was audio only.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured if there was anything that, I could use from it, we may as well, get on video.
Right.
But the call lasted like an hour and a half, maybe, but it wasn't a conversation. He had like just a list of questions about a topic that he wanted to pick out, and he would just like ask me the question, and then I would kind of talk and be like, interesting.
Yeah.
Down his notes, flip the page. So, and then like he'd have a false start, and then he'd like start again. Like, which I mean, when he cut it together, and it sounded nice enough, but it was like a 20-minute thing of just me answering questions. And like, I don't know. So what do you think it is about that some people are just they need that structure, and other people can just flow?
Yeah, I think some of it depends on, because some podcasts, that's what they want, right? They want a Q&A basically. And I think there's an element of that free-form conversational podcast, or just free-form conversation period, that requires a little bit of confidence to think you could carry a conversation. And I think it requires some trust in your guest as well. I mean, we've had a couple that I don't know what they're expecting, but when they came on, like it was almost like they were wanting just a Q&A. And so when we'd ask them an open-ended question, it was a very uncomfortable pause, at the end of it. But we've gotten a lot better at that side of it. And we've gotten some things out of some guests that, more than once of, man, we've never told anybody this, or I've never mentioned this before in a show. And that's pretty cool. Like we had one of the guys from Forest and Fire told us, he was like, he came on a second time. He goes, I guess I've been trying to ruin my reputation for 20 years. So I decided to come back on and talk to you assholes. But
didn't work the first time. So
yeah. Right. But yeah, I mean, so that's one of the few things that I would say we pride ourselves on, is that free form conversation with guests, and just the ability to shoot the shit about whatever. And then, and also just the fact that we'll talk about any topic. I mean, we've gotten to some pretty, like we usually are pretty lighthearted and, a lot of profanity, but we've gotten to some pretty heavy stuff with some of our guests, some deep stuff. So we're not opposed to, we'll talk about anything. Heavy racial issues. Like we've had a lot of, strangely enough, the 2 or 3 podcasts of ours, and I say strange enough because we've done much better with the black audience than I ever assumed we would, being a couple white dudes from Tennessee. But we've had some just fantastic fucking conversations with these guys on race and the black experience in the South, and things that we don't understand. But, we've had guys that have been gracious enough to humor our ignorance, and because we're willing to have the conversations, and they're willing to let us ask some stupid questions, and, along the way. And got another a couple guys in the UK that we talk to pretty regularly now, and then just different experiences. So it's something we enjoy, because we're both really, like, I have no problem admitting if I'm wrong about some shit, neither does Joey, but I'm also like, I'm grateful when somebody's willing to let me ask what might be taken as an offensive question, because that's how you fucking learn, right? Is to be able to exchange ideas. And I think that's a big key for us that's made our podcast more successful than I thought it would be, is just the willingness to us just talk about whatever.
I heard you from the other room, and I'm amazed at how well you stayed on topic.
I'm practicing, because I don't have you here to piss me off and want to change topic. He tends to be very structured, more so than me.
For sure.
And so he'll have like, and that's one reason why we kind of abandoned our original format of trying to keep topics, because I'll derail it every fucking time, whether I'm trying to or not. It will absolutely happen. So yeah, so that's why I think we work well together. He teased me up he just pisses me off half the time.
Yeah,
that's me. So yeah,
I know my role.
Yeah, I know my place. Yes,
so if you guys are going to do just the two of you without a guest, is it a little bit more like, is there a topic, is there a theme, or is it just like, hey, what's been going on this week?
Our mindset for this is, so we would just sit and talk for whatever outside, and we're just like, hey, we're right about everything. We have some great fucking opinions, so we should sit down and we'll record how we normally have our conversations.
Right.
And obviously everybody needs to hear our opinions on things because we're always right. And so that kind of what ends up happening with us. It's kind of like if we're just sitting outside drinking and arguing with each other is essentially what it ends up being for.
And we would like, I think we've said we would pick a topic, like we did an episode about pet peeves, and we just basically went down, each of us went down a list of different things that were pet peeves of ours. Yeah. Which each one will spawn a rant from one or both of us. Yeah. But as we went on, it really, an episode of just the two of us together would be, the show starts and it never fails. One of us says, so how's your week been going? And it just sets us all. It's something happened that set one of us off, and then it goes from there. And then we prepare a little as far as like, we have some, sweet. Yeah, we'll have like some different news articles from the past week or so. They're on deck if we need them. If we get boring or if we get bored, we have them to go. And I know how to pick news articles that are either one, going to interest him or piss him off. Yeah. and it always works. And then
we also have my favorite thing that we've had, and we haven't used it much recently, but we have something we call the bag of shit. And it'll just be random topics, like usually one or two letters that or one or two words that'll get written down, nothing conceptual, just whatever. It fills it up. We draw it randomly, especially with guests. It's been fun. And we've been slack on filling it up, and then just whatever comes out of it is what we talk about. So
do you want to do one? Let's do it.
All right. I just pulled a good one.
Okay.
The word is sounding. Do you know what sounding is? First off, I mean, the way we do it is whatever this makes you think of, you just talk about it. So anyone wants to.
Did you write? Is this one of yours?
This is one of mine.
I don't know what the fuck the sounding is you're talking
sounding about. Is when you take little instruments, pieces of glass that aren't harmful as far as sharp or metal, and stick them up the old dick hole.
Oh shit.
And
I saw a video once of some dude with his dick hole and a cactus.
Well, that's not sounding, okay, but that's fun. But yeah, no. So sounding, yeah, it can be dangerous because some shit can get stuck up there.
Yeah.
But if you put one thing down in there, you can take another thing in there and like make noise and shit like that. But it also blocks your urethra so that stuff didn't come out during sex or whatever. It's so
like a little toy trumpet.
You probably could. You probably could do that. Right?
Like I want to see a musician.
I would like to have mistletoe in there at Christmas time so that I could get the mistletoe to come out and then be like, well, you know what that means.
Just a confetti blaster.
That works too. Or the old school thing like with a gun that just comes out and goes bang.
Yeah. See, I immediately imagined like a small orchestra of nothing but wind instruments within dicks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would probably work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Handel's Messiah.
I was thinking of reading, like sounding out things, but maybe that's just where I'm coming from.
Well, see,
I went to sounding.
You're a better person than we are.
I went to sounding off was my original thing. Speaking up, being louder, but that's better. Yours is so much better.
We've had some good ones over time.
Yeah.
So if this is your submission, is this something that you have personal experience with?
No. I just know what it is because I listen to a lot of I do. I see it right to my ear. Like I think I hear
coming out of dicks.
I do. I think I hear it. I'm not sure.
So
and then my son's like, Dad, can I please go play games now? And I'm like, all right, fine. No, I listened to a lot of Loveline growing up in my late teenage years, and then I've listened to a lot of Dr. Drew After Dark, and that comes up periodically on there. And so I know what sounding is. So
that's a sample of our show. So.
Well, that's a great sample. And funny enough, I went to school for psychology, and I wanted to be the next Dr. Drew one day. And now hearing about sounding, I'm glad I did not go down that road.
So I remember doing Loveline back in the day when I was like, because we would have been when it was on in full swing
in our mid to late teenage years.
Yeah, that's a say. Like
when it was on TV, it would have been our late teenage years.
okay, so like 16.
Just jerk off age, because you
all I
listen to
know is
that's
jerk
it.
off
That's
to
it. You
Love
listen
Line.
to people
Yeah.
call in and talk about what they do or what they want to do during section. You're like, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
I can jerk to that. But we have a few different games that we pull out from time
Oh
to
yeah, forgot
time.
about games. Yep.
We had one because he's not into sports. Steven's not into sports, and I am into sports. But he knows stuff. So we had one called the name game, and I would come up with a list of real real athlete names that sound funny or whatever. But then I'd also create some fake ones and just read them off to him, and he has to guess if they're real or fake. We've played that with some guests before. Yeah. We played a game called Who's That Racist?
Yeah.
Which people love.
Weirdly enough.
And you would be surprised how hard it is for us now to find quotes from celebrities or politicians or whatever that are racist statements. So
what how the
game, no, well, Google edits them out. You have to go to like Bing or some random shit. But usually what we would do is we'd find some, and you'd be surprised on some of the things that were said, but we'd find racist quotes from different celebrities, presidents, whatever. And then they'd be multiple choice formats. And you'd have to guess who said it. And it was weirdly enough, it came out, like we had to explain a couple times, like, listen, it's not celebrating racism, is just realizing the crazy shit that and half of them were presidents is the crazy thing. But yeah,
it's not celebrating racism. It's going,
sounds like the kind of thing that if you need it explained to you, then it's probably not a game for you.
But it's also the kind of thing that if someone just clipped just that section of our podcast out and played it somewhere, we could never get a job ever.
Right.
But funny enough,
one guy that always wants to play, he calls and challenges me. He whips my ass every time. But
all of the quote friends that we've made that are other podcasts or whatever, all of the black guys that we made friends with love for us to play this game. They want to play this game more than anything. When they're guests on here, or if they call into the show to comment on something, they always say, "Can we please play the game?" That's what they call it, the game.
The game.
Very cool. So it's real. That's, it goes against like the traditional.
Don't worry, we have trouble finding words to explain it to.
No, I was just gonna say the way you worded that sounded like you're just laying down some like African American street cred for us. It's like, oh yeah, we're down. We know what it's about.
Yes. We're down with the game.
Anyway, sorry, man, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No problem. But I think the types of things that you're talking about are the types of things that if people find them and they're into it, then they're gonna love it. Yeah. And it goes against the traditional, if you're starting out a podcast, if you're starting out a YouTube channel, to have like to find your niche and to do this and do that. And I guess it's because if you can pull off the kind of show that you guys have, then it's going to be great. But I think very few people have the ability to actually come up with this kind of stuff, keep it going. And I mean, as much as I could have a organic conversation about whatever and just pop up and I'm sure I have an opinion about whatever you're going to bring up. I don't know that I would necessarily be able to conceptualize things that well. Were these things born more of like time in the show where like, oh, what do we do now? Or these ideas that you have outside that you're like, let's try this?
A little bit of both, I think. A little bit, because every now and then it's like, oh man, we need a different game to play. And games are surprisingly to me hard to come up with that you haven't heard played 1,000.
Yeah.
Excuse me, 1,000 times. But I think a big part of that for us and why it works is because neither one of us are offended by anything at all. And we're also being willing for somebody to call us out and like give us shit like on the air. We've got one guy that calls in all the time and just busts our balls about whatever we're railing about. And I think in order to make some of this stuff work, you have to be kind of unashamed in its implementation and just, you just got to lean in, right? If people start getting pissy, you just fucking lean into that shit and just be like, well, we're doing it anyway type of thing. And I think that, I don't want to say confidence is the wrong way to put it, but just that those taking those ideas and just being willing to do them and to do them like full force, right? Like not tiptoe into it and just do it. And you find out really quick if it works or it doesn't work. Like we've had a couple things that we've been like, okay, well, like our book by the cover game, like, yeah, that just completely sucked, but we went for it, man. We dedicated a good 45 minutes to it. It was like, that didn't work. Yeah. But
you got to try. Yeah.
Well, it's like, you want people to like the show, but at the end of the day, like you have to like your own show.
That's it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if we're not enjoying it, because I threaten to quit half the time because I fucking get tired of hanging out with him every weekend. But you know, at the end of the day, like I enjoy the show. You know, there's elements of it that I hate, and he likes it. He does.
So sorry to interrupt your podcast experience. I just want to remind you, if you're enjoying what you're watching, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. And if you really love it, there's some support links in the description. I would love if you could help out the channel. And back to the show.
It's gotten a little more even, but I'll say 75% of the work for the show you still do. Like,
Okay.
I do all the audio.
Yep.
Do all
I like
the
that.
audio stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll
No,
take that.
I felt like he was very generous with giving me 75% of it.
Yeah, I think I saw, because I mean,
Yeah.
I've stepped up. We had a big come to Jesus a few months ago.
No, it's been over a year.
You know,
ago.
I have no
I know
time.
it's been over a year ago.
But it was super. I mean, he was doing everything, and we had some other shit. So we had a big. We called the episode was "Kiss and Make Up" or something like that.
That's right.
You know, so we made up on air, or you know, right, talking about shit. And,
That's a good idea.
yeah,
Because I had a similar type of thing where, you know, I was doing, like I said, I was doing most of the work with the old podcast, and my co-host, you know, it made sense because the hours he was working were a lot more than I was working. And
Right.
so I just had more time, and just made sense for me to do the editing, to talk to, you know, to set things up with guests and stuff. But we had to be, I had to sit him down and be like, yo, like, are we doing this or are we not doing this? Like,
Right.
And then that's how it became like, okay, I'll be the host and you be the co-host. I just need you to help this, that, and whatever.
right.
And then
He was
they
your Andy
kinda-
Milonakis.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
And it didn't quite live up to the name. And still good friends, but you know, it's a lot of work. And if you're good at it, you make it seem easy. And
Yeah.
then when you sit down and try to do it and it's hard, then not everybody wants to
Right.
do it.
Yeah, and like so, we've done pretty well. Like so, we've had some times where it was really uneven, and I've picked up a lot more, booking a lot of our guests and doing a lot of that stuff. And like I said, I do all the audio mixing. The video is kind of his universe for things, and then he does pretty much all the social media, and I just bitch about how well or not well he does the social media. So that's kind of our dynamic there, because I did music stuff for a long time and had to do all my own socials, and I absolutely loathe doing social media. So I just bitch about how he does it, but I still let him do all of it. So that's a big part. But
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I love being on social media and just like using it for my own purposes, but like
Right.
putting things out there, it's just like, especially as a newer show where like nobody's fucking, you know, how many people are actually going to click that weren't already going to click, or how many people are seeing this and how many people is this reaching and that kind of stuff. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, a weird thing for us is that downloads, listens, plays, views, whatever, it's like it ebbs and flows, and we knew that going in, but it's like it plateaus, and then all of a sudden, like this weekend, it's just like it shoots up through the roof, and it's like almost like people were off an extra day and could catch up or whatever, and it's weird. I can't figure it out, and that frustrates me because I'm an analyst in my normal job, and I love like looking into things like that, and I can't figure it out for this, and it drives me up the wall.
If I had to venture a guess just based off that little thing and my own experience, it could be that people who are finding the show for the first time, liking it, and then being like, oh, this is awesome, let me go watch every episode.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what my wife does when she watches if she finds a new podcast that she likes, she'll go back to the beginning and start listening to all of them. But
especially a show like yours, where I'm sure, you know, aside from all the games and stuff, you have plenty of inside jokes and recurring things, and so like that's the kind of thing you want to be a part of. And
right,
you know, for 100 episodes is a decent amount of time, but you guys do an hour?
2.
We try to keep it around 2. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you know, if somebody was really into it, that's not that much time to be like, oh, if I'm already listening to stuff and there's this new podcast I like, then I can go right through it.
Yeah.
So did you guys have, when you started, did you have people who were into what you were doing, or did you just start from scratch and you found people along the way?
We started, it's really enough. We haven't really advertised or anything, mostly because of our day jobs, and his is a lot more restricted than mine is as far as what's out, you know, in the world. And a lot of it is not necessarily what we say, it's the context it could be taken in. If it's heard just like a clip, and some of it's exactly what we fucking say, but you know, there's clips of that. But we started off with just people we knew, like 5 or 10, and now it's grown to where like we don't know enough people that
I don't know. Yeah.
And we have a few episodes, like we just broke 10,000 listens, which over 120 episodes isn't a ton, like but a lot of those.
And that's just on the audio side of things as well.
Else. But like we've had a couple of it's funny, we've had a couple celebrities that we've had on that we thought would just blow the fuck up, and they haven't. And then we've had a couple episodes that we didn't expect to blow up. And we just had one that's been quoted in a couple of articles and videos. The celebrity was quoted, not us. But it was from our show, but that's skyrocketed.
Well, they mentioned our podcast, which at least will drive people at least to listen to that episode anyway.
So we're seeing some more growth more recently than we have, but it'll plateau for a while. And, you know, so I don't know. It's changing the game. We just need people to give us money. We'd be in good shape.
Video has, video has been one of the caught on the most. Video caught on a lot quicker than the audio did once we started.
Which I don't know who the fuck on a Friday or Saturday would sit down and hang out with us. That's stupid.
I don't know. They're probably not watching a whole episode. They're probably watching a little bit while they're doing something else. Right. And that's it. But who cares? Get credit for that view. I don't give a shit.
Hey, everyone counts.
That's what I told my wife. I said, just download the episode. Don't listen to it.
This is terrible.
It is. Yes.
Jesus.
It is.
What are you guys drinking?
This is Secession Tennessee gin, and it's awful.
It was not bad when we first drank it. I think that
it's mixed with this shit.
That's what's not doing it. If you put it in some tonic with some lime, it's pretty good. But it's from Lost State Distilling. So anyway. We try to drink. I don't know if you said this while I was out, but we try to drink something different on every episode. So we drink every episode. Okay, there you go. Yeah, you telling about the suicide bottle?
I did.
Good. Yep. Yeah. Look at you, man. Right? I just like you came prepared.
I'm focused.
I know.
Love it. So going back to the live streaming, with the podcast episodes, when I release them, I do them as live premieres. And what I'm hoping is that as the show grows, if I'm not able to do, because I work during the week, so I'm not necessarily always going to be able to carve out that time slot. I definitely could. I'm a dog trainer, so I can, I make my own schedule, but that's just, Wednesday morning there's often people who need their dogs trained. I mean, if it was big enough, I would definitely carve that time out. But point being, I have the episode as a live premiere, and when I do have the time, I'll sit, and if there's anybody watching, I'll, get the chat going and trying to foster more of that community type of feel, so that instead of just people listening, that everybody's watching it together. And then eventually maybe I would be able to do the episode itself live. What made you guys start wanting to do live?
Well, it was one of those things. We were already sitting here recording anyway, and since we don't edit, we just thought, how cool would it be, since we're already here anyway. And when we'd have a guest, we started off doing Zoom, and had to do some finagling for that. But we ended up doing is we've tried a couple of the streaming platforms. We settled on one called Melon, which we love. And since we were recording the video for it anyway, we were like, well, hell, let's just go ahead and put it live. And, first few, nobody tuned into it all. And now it's, pretty regular. We got a handful that come on and interact, and sometimes more than others. Weirdly enough, you had a lot more people on when I was on break, which is amazing. But yeah, it just kind of evolved. It was more about, well, we're already, sitting here, we're already doing this, and we're already not editing. So why not just, throw it out there? And it's super easy. Like I said, Melon, we really I wish we got paid by them, but
sure.
But that's been our favorites, because I also got grandfathered in when they first launched. So we get like the full $50 a month pro pack for like $15 a month. So it's been pretty sweet for that. But you can also record with it too. And so even if you didn't want to live stream, we can still track, and it's got all the other shit on it. So it was just kind of a natural progression that we talked about wanting to do video. And as long as we're doing video, we might as well do it live. And you bought some camera stuff, and we went from there.
Yeah. We have the ability to have a 4-camera setup and switch live, like switch camera angles live. And so
we don't.
We did it for a little while. We will eventually again at some point. We had someone that came in and helped us, and he hasn't lately, but we were, like he said, we were recording and releasing the video, and just decided to do live and try try to make it like a poor man's internet TV show, kind of, sort of. Yeah.
But what we do though is we live stream, video and everything else, and then as soon as the show's over, we pull the video down, and then the full audio version releases on Monday, on all the platforms, and then the video, recorded video releases Wednesday on YouTube. So if they don't tune in live, you have to wait.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And that way, for me, like, I enjoy the interaction live, and if you don't, then just get to watch anytime you want. You gotta wait, bitch.
Yeah, that's it.
This is the type of deal. And we have one guy, he's always like, why do you guys always take your videos down? It's like, well, why don't you fucking tune in then, type of thing. But
how bad do you want it?
Yeah, exactly. Beg for it, baby.
But coincidentally, he also doesn't believe in consistency in podcasting. So
yeah, that's true.
I would definitely, aside from the doing my podcast live, I've started, because I use StreamYard. They had a Black Friday deal.
Yeah, StreamYard's great. We use it for a while. Yeah.
I was like, why not? And I actually, I was supposed to do a stream with other dog trainers the other day.
Nice.
And I just, I didn't read your book thing to kind of be a foot in the door for the channel itself. I realized with the old podcast that just 3-hour conversation is a hard sell. I didn't read your book is a little bit more of a palatable concept, and allows me to talk to a wider range of people.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that organically, just over time, with more and more people having been on the show, and with a few people caring about each episode, that it'll grow organically that way. But I also, want to get into talking about the shit that I want to talk about. I have lots of opinions and shit. And I try not to make the episodes that are about the author about me, but I'm me. So
you have, just to interrupt you have glorious fucking hair, by the way. That is fucking incredible.
That's the first thing I noticed. When
I was like, holy shit, that is beautiful. So anyway, sorry.
They call me Brown Jesus.
And I needed this. Yeah, I would worship at your feet, sir. But anyway, sorry. I've been holding that inside for a little while now. But we should. Oh, do we have an author for you?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, after I don't want to give it away. After the interview, we'll shoot it to you. It's special.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Special.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was an attorney's channel who was doing something about, I don't even remember what it was, some case that was going on, and he was doing a live stream, and he was bringing people up, just whoever, and I was able to shout out my channel and talk about it. And so I met some people through that, and there's this one dude who is a carpet cleaner, and he was doing a live stream with other carpet cleaners, and I was like, oh shit, like this is actually, I don't own any fucking carpets, but I'm still interested in this. Yeah. And, just having knowledge and discussing with other people who have that knowledge to somebody else who doesn't have that knowledge. Yeah. Is always something that's, people can gain from. So I've got, so far next week, I think, is that next week? Next week, I've got, a live panel with the New Jersey Cannabis Club.
Oh, nice.
We have a Discord server with about 500 people. We're looking to grow that, but we're doing I'm going to be hosting a stream. We're going to have a couple people coming up that work in the medical cannabis has been around in Jersey for a number of years. But it was relatively strict until recently. And then this past year, they legalized it recreationally. We don't have any recreational dispensaries yet, but
the air is full of it. I was just up there a few weeks ago, and it was like a cloud of happiness everywhere.
Oh yeah. What's the legality in Tennessee?
Yeah, not even remotely. Yeah.
Oh man.
Not even medicinally.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
I think they've pushed a little more in Tennessee, but I feel like the Southeast will be they're the slowest. They're going to be, except for maybe Florida. But
interestingly enough, the Republican Party's trying to push federal legalization right now.
Republican or Libertarian?
No, Republican.
Really?
Yes.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's money. There's a lot of tax dollars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Colorado got fucking rich off weed money.
Oh yeah.
It's been the argument. I mean, I don't understand what the holdup is. Like everybody wants it. Smokers want to smoke. Politicians want the money. What are we doing here?
Yeah. I want legalized opiates. That's all I want. Fuck the rest of it.
Speaking my language.
I know, right? Oh, Jesus Christ.
I've never done a single illegal drug, and I think they should legalize everything.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm about to grow I bought some poppy seeds. So I'm about to grow my own and make some delicious.
You tried that before.
Teas. Yeah, but I'm letting my wife do it this time.
Oh,
She doesn't kill things. Like
that.
I used to dabble a little too heavily with the opiates, but left those behind. But some good days, some good times.
No, it's some dangerous shit, man. But there's no high like a fucking opiate high. Jesus.
Absolutely, and that was always my thing. It was like, as long as you, I still got a little bit further down that path than I ever intended. But from the very first time, because I was straight edge in high school. I grew up in like the hardcore metal scene, and going to local basement shows, and the straight edge thing was very closely tied to that. Right. And I, being a kid with strict immigrant parents, I wasn't going to be doing drugs anyway. Right. So I was like, oh, let me use this as a way to be cool. And then senior year in high school, somebody's like, you want to smoke? I was like, all right. And then, the rest is history. But after that, I just went buck wild, and not too crazy anymore. And it's not like I'm sober or anything, but I just found a good balance. And I think the biggest part of that was always the first time that I was going to, well, not with weed, but like the first time I was going to do a hard drug. I think the first hard drug I did was ecstasy. Mm-hmm. And what played in my mind was a scene from the first Saw movie. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Near the very end, when the two dudes who are locked up in the room, they're talking, they're trying to figure things out, and the doctor dude is like talking about Jigsaw, and he's saying like, oh, this guy's smart, he's not going to do this, that, whatever. And the other guy's like, you're complimenting him or whatever. And then the doctor's like, if you want to defeat a disease, you have to, like, I don't know exactly the word, but recognize and acknowledge how much damage it can do. Right. So that played in my mind, and I was like, okay, we're going down. I've never done a hard drug before, and we're crossing that threshold. Be aware that is what we're doing. They call them hard drugs for a reason. Yeah. And every single one of my friends ended up being a dope head. Every single one of them. And I just think, the whole time having a mentality, like I used to be really into pills. What I would do,
sir.
What I would do is I'd have 3-4 days on, and then I'd let it get out of my system. I'd just like feel like shit for 2 or 3 days. Yeah. And then I knew, I was good again. And I think doing that instead of just 5 straight years of doing it every single day, I think really saved me, because I was able to.
I had like 2 years before I got sober off of that shit. And I would not wish that fucking 2 weeks of withdrawals I had on anybody. Well, child molesters, maybe. Fuck them. But outside of that, dude, it was it was awful. But I still, but every now and then, but right now, if you put a pile of Oxy in front of me, I'd eat that shit like fucking Pez. It's so good.
I definitely would be able to do them and not have an issue. I used to take them with Xanax too. And now I take Klonopin. I just take Klonopin. I have a prescription for Klonopin now that I use like as you're supposed to, like 1 milligram a day type shit. Because obviously if you're getting into shit like that, you're not a happy, well-adjusted person. There's shit going on.
My wife has a bottle of Klonopin. My wife has a bottle of Klonopin and Oxy upstairs that she doesn't take any of.
Jesus Christ. Yo,
I'm just
mail that over.
I know.
I'm just joking.
I know you do that because I get a little hard.
I know. It just goes every time.
I will say that MDMA is the shit, except for the fact that it gives me full on limp dick. So fuck that. That was. But the first time I got that, some girl just gave it to me, like didn't tell me. Like I got drugged, basically. She was like, I got a surprise for you. I was like, really?
How much did you drink that night?
Great question.
Not much at all.
Okay. I just hear a lot of people say, I think I was drugged. And they're like, well, what did you drink? Well, I didn't really drink a lot. We started, with shots at noon, and then
we were sitting there and like hanging out. And she was like, I got a surprise for you. I was like, okay, cool. What's the surprise? She goes, oh, you'll find out in a little bit. And it turns out when I got to go to the bathroom, she put some fucking MDMA in my fucking drink.
Nice.
It was a good fucking night, but Jesus.
Yeah,
Such a bad
but
hangover.
I would, as somebody like me with the level of anxiety I have, like acid is my home. That's my favorite fucking drug in the world. I do like MDMA, but I don't like the speediness. Like I enjoy doing coke, but I just enjoy doing the coke. I hate the feeling of being on coke, but I just like snorting drugs. It's just fun. Sorry.
That's great.
And so the speediness of MDMA is just, it's because it's so tied to the experience. Yeah. It's something that like I have to super mentally prepare for. And then there's also a bit of that with acid where you know, you kind of get not as like speedy and strung out, but your body's definitely working at
it's neurological overload. And if you already have neurons that fucking synapses that fire faster than normal anyway, it's a recipe for a train wreck.
Yep. But that being said, like I said, you guys never done it? Acid?
No, I've never done any illegal drugs.
Yeah, you got to try it.
I got a PO box.
If I wouldn't, I was gonna say, if I wouldn't lose my job, I would. I would
try lose your job
because it's the first place I've ever worked that says we randomly drug test, and they do. Like 4 times a year, they come in and randomly test people.
Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure this could be an urban legend. But I'm pretty sure the last I heard of it, which would have been a long time ago, but the only way they can trace LSD in your system is through like some type of spinal fluid. That's just what I heard from.
It's a very specific test.
I don't know. I know they do like a 21 panel.
Yeah, it's kind of like shrooms, like the psychedelic. Yet it's a very specified test. Most of the time, they just test for the big guys, amphetamines.
Yeah. To get a job, they do like a 5-panel test, but once they start randomly drug testing, it's like a 21-panel test. It's crazy. You get randomly people get breathalyzer. So had a guy lost his job.
Wild.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I work for a massive company.
See, I literally drink at work, so it's fine.
I used to before I was a dog trainer. I was just serving tables, and that is not a good environment for an addict. No, and I was just, especially so I think I've worked in 5 different restaurants, and I got fired from 4 of them. 3 of those firings were for drinking on the job.
Oh, damn.
And I mean, all 3. It wasn't because I was like so drunk and fucked up and they fired me because of that. It was a known thing. And I could handle my shit, and just like, yo, let me, there's somebody ordered a martini and they sent it back. I'll throw that back, Right. And I mean, at the last place I was working, the managers were the ones who were supplying coke to everybody, and it was buck wild in there. But it was just, there was one tiny thing that I messed up on a check that just happens if you're a server. But the manager didn't like me. He knew I was drinking, and he just used that to get me out of there.
Yeah.
And I always knew that I would never be able to do any kind of corporate kind of job. Like, just not for me. Nope.
Yeah. It can be.
Aside from the drugs, just that the schedule, the waking up, the bosses, that's one of my favorite things about my job now, is that I don't see anybody besides my clients. Yeah. I work for a company, but I haven't seen my boss in like a month, and I haven't talked to any of my coworkers in longer than that. And not that I don't necessarily, like, nothing wrong with them, but we're not like friends. We just work together.
Fantastic deal. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah. And I make my own schedule.
I don't mind a corporate environment.
Yeah. Joey likes it.
Yeah.
Nerd.
I don't mind
Fucking nerd.
My job is half and half corporate and half logistics. So
mine is neither.
I know.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it. Big company, great benefits.
Yeah.
So job security.
Yeah. That's
when you're 40 years old and you're married and have kids that you try to, help out if they need it or whatever. That that job security means a lot.
That was definitely infantilizing to just be working. And I knew it while it was happening, but it wasn't as clear as it is in hindsight that, because I just turned 32 last week, 2 weeks ago. And being 27, working in a restaurant, just working for the money that you're going to spend that night on alcohol and drugs,
right?
With no plans. I mean, I'm single, I don't have a family or anything, so it's not like anybody was depending on that money, but
right.
It's not really where you want to be approaching 30. And so, I mean, it's a good thing I got fired the last time, because I probably would still just be there.
Yeah.
But
everybody has a path, and you work it. I find that most people start getting their shit worked out and find a path that it works for where they need to be. Like, some people don't, but I feel like that pocket gets smaller the older you get, because at some point you're like, okay, you find an option, you find an avenue, that works. Especially like if you have any type of mental illness, whatever, like you've got to like me having bipolar disorder, I found a job that works really fucking well with how I am versus the
you don't have
I need.
bipolar disorder.
I
Bipolar
don't.
disorder has you.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. It's not a disability; it's an asset. But I don't know about that. But the company that I work for now, I don't do well in a corporate type environment. Anyway, because of that, and the position I'm in now, the company is a very successful company, and like a legitimate one, weirdly enough to say, but the job and how my department works, I have a lot of flexibility to be able to do what I need to do, type of thing. So it's worked out well for my end, but I would not do well in like where I haven't done well in very strict, corporate environments, so, it works out.
I think it's just, just finding what works for you. And I think, nowadays that message is becoming a little bit more prevalent. But definitely, like as recently as when I was, in college, about 10 years ago. Shit, time flies. The path was that you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to get a job. It's job security, all of that stuff. And
but I think the mindset of finding a path that works for you is a much more healthy one than follow your fucking dreams, which I think is a terrible, mantra to have. I mean, to me, you follow your talents and the way you like, if you work, or you're willing to put in the work, or at least hang on, you usually can find a way to make a living or work in a way that fits with how you are, even if you have to adjust a little bit along the way, as opposed to the, oh shit, you can be a fucking, top 40 pop star. You just got to put your mind to it and suck a lot of dicks. But it's, because that was a big thing that still is, well, you can do anything you want to do if you just, like, no, that's not how that works. But I think if you pay attention and you can get a little bit of self-actualization, then you can find at least a path of sustenance that can work for how you are, lack of a better way to put it. I don't know. That's my opinion now.
Yeah, and that's definitely a poignant point that seems like it should be obvious. And I think there's just people who get that and people who just don't. And you can see it in the way people approach the world, where there's this sense of entitlement that everybody has.
Yep.
And some people, not everybody, but a lot of people have. And the people who don't have that are it's very easy to just be like, okay, this is my situation, this is what I got to do. I'll find a way to make it work in a way that works for me. Right. And somebody else who doesn't think like that is just going to hate their life because they think there's only one path and they've got to do this. And
well, I've told my oldest more than once. I was like, you might not can do what you want, but you have an area that you're skilled in just naturally, wherever your abilities go. I was like, if you at least work and follow your talent, if it's different than what you love doing, that doesn't mean they can't marry up eventually, or that you can't do one way or the other. But if you have a skill set that I think you're naturally drawn to, like, that's where you're going to make your money. And you can get lucky and might be able to spurt off of that, whatever. But like I'm very electronically inclined as far as repairing electronics, doing all that stuff. I fucking hate doing it, but I've been very fortunate and moving forward, and I can still do other shit that I want to do. And it's not that I hate my job. I don't want to put it that way, but I wish I didn't have the skill set I had. There was other skill sets I would wish, that I could, but having that one and leaning into that because it's something that came naturally to me has been beneficial. And that's what I was trying to tell my son. I'm like, yeah, it's great to have things that you love doing. There's nothing wrong with pursuing those things, but like, if you have something you're good at, like follow that, like you can learn to love it, or at least they're going to, like, I'm assuming you're good with fucking animals, not actually fucking animals, but good with animals.
I'm great fucking animals.
That's what I was, wait a minute.
But I'm saying, so I mean, that's a path that's probably, if it's something you enjoy doing and you have a talent for it, then it's a beneficial thing. I haven't been able to make a dog come in years, but
You're losing your touch.
I'm losing my touch.
That's why I disappeared a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
It's so awkward because that's always the first command that I talk about in lessons, because recall is important. So
Right.
Yeah.
the
Don't
most
fuck
important
animals.
one is come. Always talking about
Yeah.
when Lucy comes, then you want
Yeah.
to reward that.
Running
That's
around
right.
that.
Right in the face.
So I know you guys got a hard out. So I just want to
Yeah.
ask. I'll give you the choice. Let's go. I want to ask either one of two questions. So do you guys know anything about crypto, or are you into UFC?
I know very little about crypto, although I do own some Dogecoin. But I love the UFC. I love the UFC.
Awesome.
Just watched the pay-per-view last night. So
Oh, nice. I know a little about both.
I don't
and
pay
that's
for the
about- and
pay-per-view
that's
though.
about it.
I illegally stream it.
Nice.
But yes.
I was doing that for the longest time, and I was actually in a Discord server where they were streaming it, and
Oh.
it's just because the website goes down so often, and at the worst times, I was like, you know what, I've got a good job now, $70. All I really spend money on is weed and UFC. I may as well just get it. It's on the TV. It's there. I don't got to worry about it. But yeah, that was a phenomenal card last night.
You could have won a lot of money had you bet the underdog on
Yeah.
both of the main cards. A lot of money. I
know.
I heard one guy put north of 250,000 on Nunez.
Yes.
And she was the huge favorite and was submitted in the second or third round.
Nice.
And
Yeah, she's a 10-1 favorite, and
there you
at
go.
the start of the fight, and
Yeah.
a lot of people put hundreds of thousands of dollars on her.
I
And-
rushed 3.5 hours back home from a family Christmas thing to be able to watch the pay-per-view here with my
That's
wife
what's
last
up.
night.
Oh yeah, starting off with the sugar show, and then oh man, I love Charles Oliveira. I think he definitely is. If it's not going to be Dustin, he's a great champ. But
Yeah.
oh, I really thought Dustin was going to win, and I didn't see him losing, and then
Well,
he lost.
if you're
Oh,
known for a
shit.
standing rear naked choke and you can execute it as well as he does, fuck man, why not be the champion? So
Yeah.
whatever.
And
It's interesting though that the champion wasn't the favorite. That was weird.
that, yeah, I mean, but I think that also goes to the popularity, and
Sure.
people will bet based
Oh
on
yeah. The
who
books
they
swing
know.
depending on where the bets are going. Yeah.
And I mean, that's why you gotta, if you're gonna be big in this market, you gotta learn to speak English. I'm not as interested when
Easy.
when-
Where were you on January 6th? Jesus Christ.
I'm just not as interested in the interviews
fucking
if I gotta
America.
wait. Yeah, I mean, if I gotta wait for you to say what you're saying, translate it.
Yeah,
Get
I don't
that
like
shit
the
out of here.
translator either.
Speak
Yeah, I
speak
don't.
fucking English. It's part of your
Yeah.
job. You're here to entertain the masses. English is the world's language.
It's not
now,
sending a good message when
motherfuckers.
you have to have a white man translate what you're saying. It's just not a good message to send.
He's actually Argentinian, so
All
Well,
I know
was-
is he ain't talking American.
That's right. That's right.
we don't want that Spangali up in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure to talk to you, gentlemen. I definitely am interested in checking out the podcast. I would would love to play some of these games and stuff and see what else you guys are up to.
Well, if you
Um,
tune in, I hope you're disappointed.
If you guys want to plug the show, anything else like
Yep.
that, the floor is yours.
Well, website is b3fpodcast.com. It's got links to
Everything.
all of our shit. You can actually listen to shows directly on the site, or we're on all the major platforms. one of the big things we're pushing, we have a little area, a link on our site now.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
called Tell Us What You Really Think. And it's a completely way to anonymously review each one of us individually or the show. People don't think it's anonymous, but it 100% is, unless you're dumb enough to put your name in there, which we've had somebody do. But you can just add, like, the worse, the better in our opinions. I mean, we like good reviews, but we also like hate mail. We'll read on the show too. So, but yeah, B3Fpodcast.com. That's our,
everything, merch and everything. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on the platform, guys. I always love to talk to other people in the biz, in the industry, trading notes and such. So everybody, please go and check out the B3F podcast.
all right.
Thank you, guys, and
Thank
you
you.
have a good one. All right. Well, that was quite the ride. Not what I expected. Certainly not from the little clip that we saw in the beginning there. I knew that I didn't know what to expect, but I certainly never would have expected that. So definitely not one to watch with the kids. So I apologize for that, but that's what you get when you come here. We never know what we're going to get into, and I was enjoying myself. I definitely, I would want to see a full episode, and before I'm ready to say like, oh yeah, I want to add this to the rotation. Especially, when it comes to podcasts, it being a video podcast, that's, there's more, if it's an audio podcast, then, I can listen to it when I'm in the car, which I spend a lot of time in for work. But when it comes to stuff that I'm watching, I'm a little bit pickier. That being said, they seem like very, what's a good word? Unique, a very unique duo, and they seem to have good chemistry and they play off each other well. Like I was telling them, their structure is something that I would love to be able to do something like that, but I don't think that I would have the vision to be able to put something together that I would feel comfortable presenting to other people and expecting them to be like fans of it. So I think, we talked about the confidence that it takes to just do organic stuff that's not planned and not structured. It takes another level of courage to do it live where you can't edit anything. Again, doing something so outside of the norm is yet another level of courage that it takes to pull it off, not to mention even try it. So definitely a very unique conversation, very cool conversation. I have a feeling that we're going to see these boys a little bit more often than just today. So what did you think? Are you interested in, did you know that podcasts could be, maybe this is the only podcast that you watch or listen to. Did you know that podcasts could be so different? The format allows for so many different types of content that maybe this whole episode is just not for you because you're not, into the way that they talk, or you don't like that they're drinking on camera. Certainly if you're not okay with those things, then the rest of what they do is probably not going to be up your alley. But as they said, they do definitely get into deep conversations and, they with their guests, and they talk to some high profile people. So clearly they've got, what they've got going is working. And I love to see it. I love to see creative, unique, just authentic stuff out there, because it's so easy to rack up views and subs doing the stuff that's tested and tried and true. And it does take that courage to step outside of that and try something that you are personally going to be passionate about. And we don't know that those things can exist until you do them, because they exist in your mind. And so if you've got something that, you are flirting with, maybe putting out to the world, but you're not too sure, the worst thing that could possibly happen is that, nobody watches it. If people do watch it, people will dislike it no matter what you're doing. So that's a non-issue, because if people hate it, there's already going, no matter what you do, think of your favorite thing on the internet. There's people who have hit the dislike button. There's people who have hit the thumbs down. There's people who can't stand it. So that's going to happen no matter what you're doing. But to do something that is so personal to you, that can be disheartening if it's just not, if just people don't care. It doesn't, it doesn't happen overnight. They've been going for a couple years now, over 100 episodes. You got to put in the time to build that audience, to build that rapport with people. And it sounds like, again, that they're doing a great job. And Morty is making too much noise here. Give me 1 second. This guy right here, this little bastard. So we tried something a little bit different today. Let me know what you think. Do we want to keep branching out? If I'm going to do stuff like this, should I separate it from the podcast itself? What did you think of the B3F guys? Are you going to tune into their show? Whatever you think, I would love to hear it down in the comments below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I also have those support links. As we mentioned in the episode, this stuff costs money and it does take time. And if you would like a better product, I need the money to do it. And of course, nobody is paying me to do this. And I am happy to use the money that I work hard for all day to bring this to you. But I would love even more if I was able to bring even more to you without having to spend more of that money, so that, I could eat and stuff. So got, the support links down below, but even if you can't do that, that's totally cool. A like, a comment, share this with somebody who might be interested in the B3F podcast. Leave me a comment below. All of that stuff really does help. And I appreciate you watching. Even if you don't do any of that and you just think, sit at home and think about how awesome I am and how great I am at doing this and how great this conversation was, that's cool too. And until next time, I will see you later.